is to answer the questions. Second person is randomly assigned to be the quiz master. This person's job is to make up the questions and to ask the contestant those questions. So the quiz master has to come up with the questions and then ask the contestant the questions. The contestant has to answer them. Third person is randomly assigned to be the observer, basically just to be the audience and watch the quiz master ask the questions and watch the contestant answer them. A couple of things about this design. All three subjects are really subjects. None of them is a confederate. And all three of them are truly randomly assigned. So there's no manipulation at all. Everybody's randomly assigned to one of the three roles. So then the experiment unfolds. The quiz master thinks of questions and asks the questions. The quiz master is supposed to come up with 5 questions to ask. The contestant tries to answer them, and the observer watches. Now, on average, the contestants got only 2 out of the 5 questions correct that the quiz master asked of them. Now, why was the accuracy rate so low? Well, the main reason is that, for whatever reason, the quiz masters tended to come up with these questions that were sort of arbitrary, based on their own personal experience, that the contestant would have not really had any idea about. So some of the questions were reasonable ones. They got a couple of them right. But then the quiz masters tended to ask questions like, who was my 3rd grade teacher? Well, how the hell is the contestant going to know who your 3rd grade teacher was? So that's just a silly question. But, and not surprising, the contestant didn't know, got them wrong. So only 2 out of 5 did the contestant get correct on average. After this experience of the quiz show is over, the experimenter asks the subject to estimate how knowledgeable the contestant and the quiz master are. So basically, how smart do you think the 2 people that you've observed, the quiz master and the contestant, how smart do you think they are? Now, before I go through the results, let's just remember that the subjects were randomly assigned to the 3 roles. And the beauty of random assignment is that there should be no differences in things like intelligence between the contestants and the quiz masters because they were randomly assigned. So there should be no difference. And so the question is, do the people in this paradigm perceive some difference in intelligence as a function of the behavior? So here's what was found. The ratings for how smart the person asking the questions are in green, and the ratings of how smart the person answering the questions are in red. So let's start on your left with the ratings made by the questioner, the quiz master, asking the questions. And as you can see, quite rationally, and I would say accurately, the person asking the question says that, we're both sort of equally intelligent in the middle. So that line that you see is the midpoint, like 50-50, average. The critical finding for the person asking the questions is that they did not say that there was a difference in intelligence between themselves and the person answering the questions. Why not? Because they knew that these questions were sort of ridiculous, and there's no way that the contestant should have known the answer to some of them, so they don't ding the contestant for not knowing the answers. They appreciate that the questions were really arbitrary and the contestant didn't have much of a shot. However, look at the answers given by the contestant as well as by the person in the audience. Both of those do not show equal lines between the green and the red. Instead, in both cases, the green line is higher than the midpoint, meaning the contestant and the audience member thinks that the person asking the questions is really smart, and the red lines are lower than the green lines, and in one case, below the midpoint, meaning that in the case of the observer, the audience, they thought that the person answering the questions was less intelligent than the person asking the questions. And the contestants themselves, not only did they perceive themselves to be less intelligent than the person asking them the questions, they also perceived themselves to be lower than the midpoint in their own intelligence. So the person answering the question, the contestant, feels really bad, rates themselves as very unintelligent, and as the contestant even more and the quizmaster even more intelligent. But you even see this effect to a lesser degree among the audience members. Why should only the quizmaster, only the person asking the questions is really accurate here. because they have no information about how smart they are. It was random assignment, should be equal 50-50. Why is it the case that the other groups show this spread between the very smart quizmaster and the not-so-smart contestant? What Ross argued is that basically what the contestant and the observer are doing is they are ignoring the situational factors and focusing too much on the behavioral, on what the behavior might say about the disposition of the person answering the question and the person asking them. The person asking the question thinks, I just came up with these questions, I came up with these questions out of nowhere, it's no big deal. The other two people think, wow, he's thinking of really hard questions, he must be really smart. And wow, I can't get any of these right, I must be really dumb. And the audience member seems to think the same thing about the quizmaster and the contestant. Lee Ross argued this pattern where people focus on dispositional characteristics, like you ask good questions, you must be smart, you couldn't answer the questions, you must be dumb, to focus on the kind of person that the individual is rather than on the situational factors that could lead to that behavior, like the person's coming up with arbitrary questions. Ross and others term this the fundamental attribution error. The fundamental attribution error is the idea that when we make attributions for other people's behavior, we focus too much on the disposition of the person, we explain it too much in terms of what kind of person they are, and we underestimate the importance of the situation in leading to that behavior. So the fundamental attribution error is our over-reliance on dispositional factors, the kind of person that person is, as causes for other people's behavior, and our tendency to ignore the situational influences that lead to behavior. In the quiz show case, we're ignoring random assignment, we're ignoring the fact that the person just had to randomly come up with questions, and we're deciding that the behavior we observe is attributable to the kind of person, smart or not smart, that the person is that we're observing. And you know this is a big, robust effect because it's called fundamental. So Ross and others thought this was a really strong, robust bias that we rely too much on dispositional factors in our attribution for other people's behavior, and we ignore the situation. It's sometimes also called the correspondence bias, and it's called that because it's a bias such that we believe that people's behavior corresponds to their personality or dispositions. We believe, incorrectly often, that what we see a person doing corresponds to the kind of person that they are. So when we say that somebody makes a dispositional attribution, that means we're saying that person did this thing because they are this kind of person. They answered the questions wrong because they're stupid. They asked questions that were hard to get right because they're smart. In contrast, the situational attribution would be one that focuses on the situation and says, well, the questions were arbitrary. Nobody could have gotten them right.